Continuing my crusade of controversy, I'm bringing you today one of the best conversations that I think I've ever had regarding the Sonic series ever since I started streaming. User Toshiba came in while I was showcasing the Sonic Advance 1 decompilation, which if you want to check out the full video, I'm releasing it at the exact same time as this one. I'll put a link to the whole Sonic Advance playlist where I also showcase the Sonic Advance 2 decompilation and stuff, and talk more specifics about that there. During this, we started a conversation talking about Sonic Advance 3 and many different facets about it, the level design, the team gimmick, and that kind of thing, and it sort of evolved into just a greater discussion and started involving more people in the chat about just alternate playstyles in Sonic in general, and I don't have much to say. It was just really fun. Now, I want to warn before we get started that the Sonic Advance 1 decomp is playable, but it's not exactly in any sort of finished state. That's why this was more of a showcase. So if you have photosensitivity issues of any kind, I recommend watching this, in a well-lit room on a small screen. Maybe if you want to even just listen to the video as a podcast instead, because what's on screen isn't necessarily important to understand the full conversation. Yeah, here are the highlights. I hope you enjoy. Advance 3 is your favorite Sonic game? Hey, nice, man. I'm glad you enjoy it. Would widescreen make a lot of its issues more digestible? I suppose. I think obviously widescreen just benefits 2D Sonic in general, because that's the main complaint, is you can't see where you're going in 2D Sonic. Now, personally, while I think that that's literally part of the design, and while I agree with Pariah popularizing the idea of passivity traps, at least popularized to me, that you don't need to memorize the level design. The level design is made in a way that you can kind of predict things. And while the Advanced series is a bit more wishy-washy with that, I know specifically he had a lot of trouble with Advance 2. In that regard, I think that'll benefit for Advance 3. The problems I have with Advance 3 are a lot more fundamental, though, that I don't think widescreen will fix. Widescreen will definitely be a benefit, but I can't say that I'm an Advance 3 lover. You're not a fan of level design? No. I don't like level design at all. I don't like that you need a specific team in some levels to make them fun. And there are some levels that are just not fun with any team. And with 20 team combinations, you're naturally going to have levels team combos that are better or worse, because it's just hard to make 20 good team combinations. Chaos Angel 3, I think, the one with the floating platform. Nah, that level sucks no matter who you are. The thing that really sucks is it's just so telling what kind of game Advance 3 tries to be a lot of the time when Act 1 of Route 99 has a crush trap. A really, really, mean crush trap, too. What bugs me about Advance 3 is that I don't think that Advance 3 is a good game without the team gimmick. And I would prefer, if all of the levels were fun to run through with, Sonic and Tails. Because Sonic and Tails is about as, milquetoast of a combo as you can get in that game. And I wish that, fundamentally, all the levels could be, fun to blitz through with that team combo, and then the other combos, added different strategy to it. But that's not the case. Some levels suck with Sonic and Tails, like Ocean Base 1. That level's, only good with Knuckles Amy. And when you play through Advance 3 for the first time, you don't get Amy until after Ocean Base. And Knuckles and Amy are only great because of Wall Spin Dash. But someone had to give it to him, I guess. Ocean Base's speedrun is actually Sonic Tails? Oh, interesting. I thought it'd be Knuckles Amy. Yeah, Wall Spin Dash is the coolest thing ever, and I wish Knuckles just had it naturally. Well, Ocean Base 2 then. That probably would have made it really cool for his moveset, considering that Mania doesn't have that good of a Knuckles playthrough, I don't think. I guess to make it more clear, with Advance 3, it's not that I don't think the game can be fun when you eventually get good at it. It's that I think it requires too much from the player and too much experimentation to just have a decent time. Because whether or not Sonic and Tails are the speedrun duo for Ocean Base 2, speedrunning is a very small subset. And while the opinion on the speedrun is still important, it's just as important as people who are playing game for the first time. And I think that Advance 3 has a terrible first player experience, especially with the crushing and bottomless pit stuff. I know it's a tall ask, but I wish that Advance 3 didn't rely on the team gimmick to be fun. I wish that the team gimmick just added to the experience, which is why I hope one day I get to experience the team gimmick in Sonic Advance 2 and see if my opinion changes. Because I don't know, since the team gimmick's only in Advance 3. And with that, I completely understand that that's how it goes in Sonic games. That's what you do in Sonic games, especially nowadays, is, the big movement of hey, this series is actually cool. You just have to put time and effort into it, which is kind of a hilarious oxymoron in the age of constant distraction and and quickly moving on to the next thing. I don't think that the team mechanic would feel tacked on, though. And the reason I say that is because the most similar thing I could think of that came before Advance 3 were the classic Sonic games, and I don't think that Tails and Knuckles were tacked on in, like, Sonic 3. They provided a different experience. That's why I think it's totally okay if Advance 3 were just at its core, like, a strong Sonic game. Oh, you think Tails and Knuckles are tacked on? Oh, interesting. I think there's plenty of reason for them to be there, but you can still play both of them like a Sonic campaign. That's what I like the most about Sonic games, is when the alternate characters play like Sonic with a unique thing to make them stand out, which I know is the generic opinion, but it is my opinion. I suppose Tails can feel more like that since his campaign is literally identical to Sonic's, but Knuckles certainly not. He goes through like a whole bunch of different areas and stuff like that. And like even when the areas are the same, I still play it differently. But I think flying changes the game a lot. Knuckles would be like DLC if DLC existed back then. You know, expect them to play through the same stages. Yeah, but you know, I don't think that like Tails, Knuckles feel unique from Sonic though. And part of that has to do with the animations and stuff too. I think that can go a long way. Okay, so to the folks that think they're tacked on in like Sonic 3, what do we think about the alternate characters in Advance 1 here? Because I think they're even more distinctive, with Sonic having the air dash and insta-shield, Tails having the tail swipe. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the flight cancel, but Knuckles being able to swim, punch, glide, climb, and then Amy being kind of the hard mode idea, since Knuckles is no longer the hard mode. That's the hard thing I have with alternate characters, especially in the Adventure series, though, is like, I want to play the Sonic game. I want to go point A to point B, and I want to go fast. And whether or not, I think I've talked about this before, is that like, whether or not the alternate gameplay styles are good or not, to me, doesn't really matter. What matters is that I'm playing Sonic in the Sonic game. And like, when I play Amy in Sonic Adventure, I don't feel like I'm playing a Sonic game. I will, at the very least, give the treasure hunting stages that, is that I still feel like I'm playing a Sonic game, even though I strongly dislike it. You fly over the level or you play like Sonic? Interesting. Like, I definitely, when I play as Tails, I find myself like flying over things that I wouldn't interact with Sonic, but I definitely take like different routes through the level when I play as Tails, because especially like the ability to start your flight earlier in the jump so you have more speed with your flight going upward, I think leads to some really fun routes. Like Marble Garden 1 is one that I really enjoy with Tails. I guess what doesn't help Tails is that because it's the same campaign as Sonic, it kind of inclines you to play it like Sonic, because that's the same issue I have with like Sonic Heroes. It's like, why is Team Rose the easy mode? Everyone's gonna start with Team Sonic. If Tails had a flight cancel, it'd be a million times better. I do not disagree there, which is why Tails is super fun in Sonic 3 Air. Yeah, the flight cancel would have been perfect to introduce here in Sonic Advance. She is unique that it makes her playthrough very different. Different isn't always good though, unless you're talking about Amy in Sonic Advance. Because I mean Amy in Adventure. I don't know if I'd say it's like that different. I do have to think about it more, and I think that Amy is has a fun moveset in Sonic Advance, but it's not like, I'm not like having brain blasts. My opinion would be that I think it's overplayed that Amy engages with the stages entirely differently. She engages with them differently, but I don't think any more differently than like Tails or Knuckles do. In some way, every character other than Sonic can like skip things that Sonic has to go through, and that's what makes him different. But generally, Sonic has the speed tech, which is what makes him fun to play as. Like in 3 and K, having the shield abilities is pretty insane. At least like from my gameplay here, since I'm literally playing it right now. When I was playing in like Casino Paradise, I don't really think like her short hop is that different, because especially in 2D Sonic, there's a lot of ways outside of the spin dash to maintain speed. And Sonic Advance, because at least I imagine, because it's on a handheld, it has a lot more condensed level design, so you don't really have to use the spin dash to like go along long slopes. Maybe in like Neo Green Hill Zone, but not like Casino Paradise or Angel Island here. She doesn't do it in the normal way, and that's great, but I'm not like, oh man, I wish I could spin dash here, you know? Like, it works just fine. But I would agree that the simple act of her not being able to do it is a nice difference. Mainly what I'm arguing is just like, Amy is so good because she's so wildly different. That's the stance I'm arguing against. I don't know if I misinterpreted or not. But I don't think it's a problem for every character in like a 2D Sonic game to have spin jump, spin dash, and then some other ability. If it's someone like Mighty. Mighty is definitely an example of like not different enough, because he is also kind of easy mode because he has like permanent elemental shield protection, I guess. I think it doesn't help that Mighty was a DLC character. Yeah, you had Encore mode, but like everyone was already playing Mania with... I never finished my thought, and I'm sure you can fill in the gap here yourself. Everyone who was getting the Encore DLC already played Mania a bunch with the characters that were already in there, so his hammer drop was kind of situational, at least when I played with him, and his imperviousness to projectiles and stuff like the elemental shields didn't really seem that beneficial at the time he was introduced in the game. Now, if he were there from the beginning, I think that would have been a lot better, but obviously that wasn't the case. Yeah, I get what you mean. That Amy does kind of the reverse, where she has a lot of options to get vertical distance, but you kind of have to figure out how to get the horizontal speed versus Sonic. Amy's iteration in Origins and Superstars isn't exactly amazing. She has a double jump. Double jumps are always great, but like at the very least casually, like the hammer rush isn't like a notable ability, I don't think. I appreciate that I don't feel like you're deliberately trying to start an argument with me when I actually talk about stuff. I think that's a way more fun way to do it, personally. Quick future past me coming in here, once again saying that I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see the full Sonic Advance 1 decomp showcase, you can check it out in the link below. Yeah, I think Toshiba and the chat really carried themselves well, and better than I did at some points, and now I'm not the gold standard for carrying myself in a conversation, believe me. Did you hear how many times I was stammering? But considering some things that I deal with in Twitch chat, this was really nice, a really good breath of fresh air, and I hope to have more Sonic conversations like this, and maybe, just maybe, I hope that this was a good example of what I was talking about in one of my previous videos, that I hope to change the narrative of Sonic conversations to be more like this one, because I had a great time. That being said, thank you so much for watching, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. That may or may not be a rant, because I'm really enjoying making these.